Oh my goodness! Here we are, guys.
Yay.
We are live, pre-recorded live podcast.
We are
Okay.
podcasting.
All right. Well, welcome, guys. Welcome to Wingin It, the West Wing Podcast. We're so happy that you have joined us today. Again, it's another special day. We have a special guest with us, a guest podcaster.
Yay.
Annie Gilmore. We're just going with it. We're going with it.
Go with it.
Welcome. Annie. How
Thank
you
you.
doing?
Thanks for having me. I feel I'm good. This is my first. Well, actually, no. This is not my first podcast, but I'm excited. A little nervous. I got ahead of myself in watching The West Wing, so I hope I don't blow it.
I think you'll be totally fine. But we are here to talk about season 2, episode 9, which is Galileo. I posted that on Instagram. That was a casual mention of the fact that we have an Instagram. So if you guys feel like following along, we'll just, hit us up on that social site. I also started a Facebook page for us. It's weird. We started on Twitter, and then I made an Instagram, and then we're like, I guess we'll make a Facebook.
Facebook.
But you can like us on there if you like that sort of thing.
Yeah. I feel like people don't use it as much, but it's good to be there. So,
well, should we sing to start us off, and then we'll dive in with a TikTok and Annie. Annie, are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
Okay. Da, da,
da, da,
da, da, da. I just remixed it.
That was great. I could picture the American flag waving as you did that.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm going for.
Mission accomplished. Let's go home.
Perfect.
Nice work.
Thanks, Gilmore. You're so encouraging. Well, I guess I should, before we dive into the TikTok and talk all about Galileo, which I'm so excited about, P.S., because I really liked this episode.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good one.
Especially coming off the heels of the last two, which were kind of like, wasn't super stoked. Galileo was like a breath of fresh air. Let's talk to Gilmore because, so I call her Gilmore, but her real name's Annie, so don't get confused. But Gilmore and I went to college together, and this is her first time through The West Wing.
Correct.
After much prodding from me. So I would love to hear your thoughts on starting. What's your experience been like so far?
Well, it was fast and furious there for a while, and I got really into it, and I like it a lot. I like the pace of it, I think. Then I kind of tapered off for a little bit, but I kind of go through spurts where I'll start watching and then it's I don't want to stop. I can't stop. Like when you get into a good book, and you can't put it down, that kind of thing. But then, but then sometimes take little breaks. But I went through it pretty quickly. So I'm actually
and now you're caught up.
Yeah, I'm caught up with you. I'm beyond you guys, you girls.
I was going to ask where you are now.
I'm in season 3. I'm someplace in season 3.
Ooh,
I can't remember where.
Good.
I can't remember where, but I'm somewhere in season 3.
It's true. In our pre-interview, I say that like we're official, but in our pre-interview with Annie, I told her, I was like, we try to be spoiler-free, so we're going to wait till the end. So if you have thoughts on the rest of season 2, we'll save those for the end. But, Sally, so shall we recap what happens in Galileo for those who have not recently rewatched? Yeah.
Yes, I think that we should. There's a lot that happens in this episode. This is a jam-packed one. One of the big things is there's an explosion in Russia at an oil refinery. So that's, I put air quotes around that I just realized our podcasters can't see.
Air quotes are just imaginary quotes, especially when you're podcasting.
Yeah. They actually think it was a missile silo, and which is not good. So that's
you gotta do vocal inflection instead of air quotes. Missile silo.
Yeah. So there's also Galileo is this Mars. I don't know if it would be a satellite or a probe. I'm not sure the terminology, but
I think it's a probe.
Okay, there's a probe going to Mars named Galileo, and they're trying to track that. And it has some issues, of course. Bartlett's getting ready to do a classroom. They call it that, but he's getting ready to broadcast to thousands of students about the Galileo thing. Oh, somebody's going to be on a stamp.
Yes, somebody's definitely going to be on a stamp.
Who I can't remember his name, but they're delegating that task to someone being on a
Puerto
stamp.
Rico guy.
And they give that to Donna. And then they go to the symphony.
Indeed. Gosh, they're so...
That was not my best TikTok.
It wasn't your best, but only in a West Wing sort of way where, like, other ones are so good. It wasn't bad. It was just that, like, other ones have been better. So don't feel bad about that.
Okay.
It's hard being excellent all the time.
Whew. Try and get my confidence back now. All right.
If Stella can get her groove back,
so there's a lot happening.
Sally. Thank you. This episode was very quippy. I mean, like, I was writing down notable exchanges, and this time I had to go analog for my notes.
You can say it. You can say notable quotables.
I do want to say
you were writing down notable quotables. I was writing down notable
quotables. Like, I hesitate to give into it, but that is what it's called. The official name. TM trademark.
There were a ton, because I was doing the same. I was making notes of them, and then, like, I couldn't even keep up with how many I wanted to write down.
And my handwriting has gotten so much worse in this digital age where I don't write anything down. I look like a Unabomber, which I'm not. So if you're listening to this from the CIA, just don't waste your time.
Well, they already caught the Unabomber, so hopefully they're not still looking.
Yeah, I hope not. Anyway, so, gosh, where do we want to start, guys? I mean, there's so much. There's
a lot. We could start with Sam and Mallory.
Sam, yes. So Sam gets roped into going to the symphony.
Yeah. Well, at first he really wants to go to the symphony. He's excited because they're going to, like, talk about the broad idea or whatever. And then CJ's like, oh, Mallory's going. And he's like, yeah, I can't.
He goes so quickly from being, like, Chris Traeger, Parks and Rec, like, so excited, like, the energy of the moment. We're going to go to the symphony. And then he's immediately, like, a 15-year-old boy, like, oh, I can't go. I can't do it. I never called her, which is also, like, a 15-year-old boy. And he's, like, a 30-something-year-old man.
Mm-hmm. Which, okay, so I'm on Mallory's side in this. Because Sam tries to make it like he's like, I was going through something traumatic, blah, 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 and you didn't even call. No, Sam. Nope. You were in a picture with the call girl, so
I love that he's like, so there was a picture of me with the call girl. There's a picture of you with the call girl. And she's like, no, there's not. Or like
no. For someone who's the communications director, he often stumbles over his words.
Poor Sam. Although he didn't stumble over his words at the beginning when they were getting ready for this, like, NASA, like, classroom thing. And the guy from NASA who wrote the intro was like... He just had a bad intro, and so Sam was like, can I change it, basically? And he's like, I prefer it if the president makes the changes. And Sam's like, yeah, well, that's kind of what he pays me for. But from a person who loves words, I feel like it was a great scene.
Good morning. I'm speaking to you live from the West Wing of the White House. Today, we have a very unique opportunity to take part live in an extremely historic event which, whoa, boy.
How you doing, Mr. President?
Who wrote this intro?
I did, sir. I'm Scott Tate from NASA Public Affairs.
Scott, unique means one of a kind. Something can't be very unique, nor can it be extremely historic.
While we're at it, do we have to use the word live twice in the first two sentences like we just cracked the technology?
Look,
we're also broadcasting in living color, right?
Sam?
Yeah.
He's going to make some changes.
You can clear him with me?
I doubt it.
Write this. Good morning. 11 months ago, a 1,200-pound spacecraft blasted off from Cape Canaveral, Florida. 18 hours ago, is it 18 hours ago? We're on the air at noon Eastern.
Yeah.
18 hours ago, it landed on the planet Mars. You, me, and 60,000 of your fellow students across the country, along with astroscientists and engineers from the Jet Propulsion Lab in Southern California, NASA Houston, and right here at the White House, we're going to be the first to see what it sees and to chronicle the extraordinary voyage of an unmanned ship called Galileo 5.
He said it right.
I liked that. It was fun.
Sam, he's the golden boy, I feel like.
He is.
Are you, Annie, a Sam Seaborn girl or are you a Josh Lyman girl?
I love Sam. I love Sam all the time. I like Josh, but he's not my favorite, not by any stretch of the imagination. But I know that he is your favorite.
He is.
I know he's Andrea's favorite. Is he your
my
favorite, Sally?
He wasn't my favorite until like the end. In the beginning seasons, I was still Team Sam, and then I was a Josh girl.
I am Team Sam. I'm Team Sam for sure, for sure. I like the way he speaks. I find Josh a little
abrasive.
I don't know. Yeah, abrasive slightly. I mean, he's believable. I believe him, but I don't know. I like Sam's
He is very
He's
earnest.
so earnest.
Definitely is earnest. That's such a good word for him.
He's like a golden retriever.
Yeah.
Like Charlie. Oh,
Like Charlie, who is watching.
Love Charlie.
Our podcast listeners are really excited to see
Charlie.
Sorry, guys. Charlie was sitting next to me. My dog, Charlie.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Charlie the character.
Charlie the character is also very Golden Retriever-esque. For our listeners at home, I have a Golden Retriever named Charlie.
Yes, I love Charlie.
Are people going to like this section of us talking about people being like Golden Retrievers?
Hey, I take that as a compliment, being like a Golden Retriever.
It's like that personality test.
And the Golden Retriever is the best answer you can get in what kind of dog category.
I think I got sea otter or something one time.
No, it's regular otter. It's regular otter.
Oh, okay. I love that you know that. Okay.
I know this because I think I'm part otter, part Golden Retriever.
That is a pretty good combo.
I think the best people are.
Well, that's kind of you to say. That's so nice.
Anyway, guys, so last night, we will keep talking about Galileo because it's such a good episode. Other than the fact that I really just want to play audio clips of pretty much every scene. That it's going to be tough to pick. It's like Sophie's choice.
Wait, you tell your last night's story.
Okay, so last night I was on the local YouTube and I stumbled across this interview with Richard Schiff and Bradley Whitford, as well as one of the writers from the show who joined in the third season. So you've seen some of his work already, Gilmore. And he was a former White House, well, not a White House staffer, but he wrote for Al Gore. He was a speechwriter during his run-up to the presidential campaign that he did. Anyway, so it was really interesting. And I posted a link to it on our Facebook page, and I mentioned it on Instagram, but I highly recommend watching it. And this will also play into our talk for today, because during it, they asked both characters or both actors, like, what was the best part of being on the show? Like, you can answer that, really. And, of course, Richard Schiff said anytime he got to work with Allison Janney.
Aww.
And then he goes on to say, and I almost got to kiss her on multiple occasions. Drops mic.
Oh.
Wow.
How do we feel about that, really, though? Are we glad that didn't happen? I'm kind of glad they didn't.
I'm glad they didn't either.
I think so too.
But I feel validated.
But it's interesting to know that they thought about it.
We gotta call Derek and tell him,
definitely validated. And maybe they're like in love in real life. I think.
Well, I think Richard's married now. But
well, okay.
But anyway, it's sorry. Sorry, Barbara. Yes, it's definitely worth watching. Anyway, Galileo.
But I'm glad they kept it as like. We've talked about this before, but I'm glad they kept it sort of as this mysterious background, unrequited, we don't really know what's going on type of thing.
They're really good at that on The West Wing.
Yeah. So, Galileo.
So, what else happens? I mean...
But CJ and the President, what I was going to say, CJ and the President in the opener, which the whole opener is just perfect. It's got the right amount of humor and walk and talks, but then it's also got that patriotic Galileo moment. But there's the audio clip of when CJ and the President are talking, and she's telling the President not to answer the questions. And he says, like, I knew that one. And then she tells him not to show off. We could just play it.
I strongly urge you.
Yes.
I strongly urge you.
I
strongly urge you, Mr. President, to act as moderator and pass the questions off to one of the experts on the panel rather than answer it yourself.
Yes. Katie, 6th grader, Green Oaks, Junior High School, Austin, Texas, asked, how old is the planet Mars? That's a great question, Katie. The planet Mars is 4.6 billion years old.
What did I just say?
I knew that one.
Nobody likes a know-it-all.
Yes, God forbid that while talking to 60,000 public school students, the president should appear smart.
That's fine, just don't show off.
I don't show off. Stevie, fourth grader, PS31 Manhattan asks, what is the temperature on Mars? Well, Stevie, if one of our expert panelists were here, they would tell you the average temperature ranges from 15 degrees to minus 140.
That happens to be wrong. It ranges from 60 to minus 225.
I converted it to Celsius in my head.
That was like magic. Oh my gosh.
So I like that one. The president, it was so fun because he wanted to answer all the questions. It just was a perfect Bartlett moment to me.
Yeah, there were so many. Like literally every scene, I was like, "Oh, we got to put in this audio clip." But this episode would be the one that sends us to jail for copyright infringement. So I like you guys, but not enough to wear stripes.
I don't need to go to jail right this minute.
It's really not flattering, those vertical stripes. Josh and Leo had a great walk and talk, and Josh is like, "Ask me how long a Martian day is," and Leo's just like, "No, I don't think I will." They keep walking, and then Leo's like,
I did know all of this Martian stuff because I just read the book The Martian, which is going to be a movie. And so normally I know things in the real world because of The West Wing, but this time I knew something on The West Wing because I actually already knew it, which was fun. You guys should read that book. Okay, that's all.
okay. For all of our Martian needs.
A little plug for something totally unrelated. It's really good.
Oh.
So,
what about the stamp thing? The whole stamp storyline. Let's talk about that. Gilmore, tell me your thoughts on the whole Josh and Donna stamp story.
You sure you want? I don't have any thoughts on that one. It's like it's okay. It's not my favorite part of this episode. I mean, I kind of doubt that she wrote that many note cards, only because I feel like it would take so long. She said she wrote like 87 note cards, and if they're 3x5, I suppose that's understandable, but I just feel like that's a lot of research. I like that she cares so much, though. I love that Donna cares so much about all these things, and I don't know, I love Josh and Donna's relationship. It's interesting. You guys have talked about that a lot on your show, and it's intriguing for sure. I don't really care who they put on the stamp, truth be told.
yeah.
That's probably not the most interesting thing for this podcast to say, but
No.
I think it's, if he's worthy of the stamp, then go for it. If not, I've never been into the whole stamp collecting thing either. I don't really get it. I know some people love it, but I've never really been a collector per se. So
Not of anything at all?
no, I did collect hats for a while, vintage hats.
Hats or cats?
Hats, HATS,
Huh.
that you put on your head. Hats.
Yeah.
But it more started as like I had one that I got in an estate sale, and then people started giving them to me. So
Yeah.
it wasn't like that I sought them out necessarily. But so anyway, all to say,
Once people know
I
that
don't
you
really-
have a collector's item, they will make you a collector.
He will pounce on
Yeah.
that.
Yes.
Like when
Yeah.
people realize
Yes.
that I like
Yeah.
Hanson, I got every Hanson book ever written by anyone. It's just like on
Sure.
Gilmore Girls when Suki said that she liked toads or frogs or something, and they always start giving her the figurines.
yeah,
and
and that's how she ended up with all those frogs. You have to be careful what you tell people you like,
Although ever since saying I'm doing the West Wing podcast, I have not been given any memorabilia by anyone. So open
Yeah,
opportunity.
people need to get on that.
Hey guys, come on.
I think, Andy, you bring up a good point because I think there are a lot of storylines on the West Wing where, like, I don't really care so much about what's going on, but I like what, like, the people have to do because of it. Like, I like seeing Donna excited about this. The stamp, meh. But it's fun to see Donna. It's fun and it's a little sad, I think, to see Donna because it's in moments where Donna gets so excited about things that you realize, like, she could be doing a lot more than being someone's
Yeah,
secretary.
it kind of makes me wonder, like, what other work was she neglecting that she had the time to fully research this
I thought the
stamp
same thing. Like, how many phone calls did you not answer when you were making your 87 note cards?
Well, see,
That's a lot of note cards.
but I was feeling like, no, that's her real job. I feel like the answering the phone thing is kind of ancillary. I feel like her job is to support Josh. So if he is assigned anything, I love that he was delegated this by Toby. It was kind of
yeah, that was really funny.
I mean, he walked right
That
into
brings
it.
up a question that I have. Is Josh Toby's boss or is Toby Josh's boss? I cannot figure that out.
I was going to ask the same thing because Toby says, he's like, I delegated. And I was like, but you wouldn't be above Josh to delegate something to him.
I feel like they're
Are they
equal.
like peers?
I think
more
they're
like?
equal,
Like
but
equal
on
peers?
different. Yeah, like on the same plane. I'm doing like hand motions for people so they can see. I think they're on the same plane, and Leo's directly above both of them because they're in different departments.
Oh, okay. Okay. That
I
makes
still
sense.
think Josh
Right,
is more
they're in different departments because
authority,
Josh is chief of staff area and Toby's communications. So, like, the director, like the communications director would be the same as the deputy chief of staff. I don't know. I agree. I think they're probably on the same, but it's just odd.
Yeah, and I feel like they're probably on the same plane, but Josh is probably gives more direction to Toby just because of the nature of the funnel, like because it's coming straight from Leo. So it's not that,
And it's just Sorkin doing his, it's not really right, but it makes a funny story.
yeah, there's
thing.
plenty of those to come.
Because really, knowing Josh, don't we think Josh would just be like, as soon as Toby said, like, Josh, I'm going to put you on this, that he would just be like, no.
Yeah.
No, I'm not doing
But
it.
it makes, it makes sense that he would just put Donna on it right away. But it's a perfect project for
That
Donna,
does make
I
sense.
think.
It is, yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Mhm.
So the oil refinery, the whole Russian thing happens.
Yeah.
And it's kind of strange because the Russian ambassador is like hitting on Leo.
Yeah, that was weird.
I mean,
That was weird.
I don't know.
I mean, more power to Leo. It was okay. It was odd. I sort of wish they could have made it. It's odd that it was the Russian ambassador. Like, we couldn't have had just like some like nice other lady that works in the White House hit on Leo and like not have it be like, you know, the enemy.
Yeah.
Maybe sometime.
You know what I mean? Like, it was an odd dynamic.
You wanted something that would
know.
last for Leo. You wanted someone to hit on him that
Right,
he could
yeah. I
reciprocate
wanted like
with.
more of a storyline. But it was just a little nod to like, hey, people are noticing Leo and like people like him. So that's fine. It served its purpose in that sense. But it would have been cool to have somebody actually that we like. I didn't really like that woman.
Well, no. She
No.
was like,
No.
yeah, she was bossy. She was trying to like get the inspection
Yeah.
on her terms. And I love it because they're like in the middle of this, like, and Leo's trying to put the smack down. And then Bartlett walks in and just closes the door. And you're like, Dad's home.
Yes.
It's going down.
Yes, I loved that. So I hated that woman, but I loved Bartlett being like, you don't get to make any kind of demands.
But then you feel a little bit bad for her at the very end of their interaction. At least I did a little bit. I don't
Yeah.
really know why. I don't necessarily understand the politics behind that whole thing, but like her parting line to him, yeah, it's been a long, cold winter.
It's been a long,
or
hard
something
winter.
like that. It made me feel like she was like schlepping in Russia for like ages, you know, like
Emotionally.
freezing in the corner or something. Yeah, like all
Right.
cold and lonely. So I felt like a little bit like she was a little bit justified there.
Maybe that's why she wanted to get Leo. I mean, maybe
my
she didn't even.
goodness.
Maybe she wasn't even referring to the Cold War. She just was really like, come over here, my little babushka. I don't know. That's probably horribly inappropriate. Anyway. All right, so what else? So the symphony. Okay, let's talk about CJ at the symphony.
Let's talk
Yeah.
about CJ at the symphony. And then we're going to talk about CJ in the president's office. But first, let's talk about CJ at the symphony. So she didn't want to go to the symphony because she had just filled some position in a different department, and there were going to be tons of people there who didn't get the job, and she didn't want to face them. Okay, that's fine. I'm all on board with that. Then she has that exchange with the dude outside, which I was still on board with because she, like, owned it.
Oh, so funny.
It was great.
Right, let's recap for people because some people may not remember that. So this was one of the guys that she didn't hire, But it turns out, we find out from this guy, first of all, he says, was it because I'm a man?
Yeah.
And I was like, no, dude.
Mm-mm.
And then she's like, well, you'll notice, like, the guy that was hired was also a man. He's like, technically or something. It was just kind of strange. And then he's like, you know what I mean? It's because we used to date, or because I stopped calling you. I don't know. It was weird. This guy bringing up baggage. Like, apparently he stopped calling her like 5 years ago. Like, clearly that's why she didn't hire you, bozo.
5 years and
clearly.
6 weeks, I think she said.
Oh, dang.
Yeah.
Yeah, which, like, that's...
Well, it sounded like they dated for 6 weeks or something. 5 years.
That's sort of...
That's how I took it.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that makes sense now. Okay.
What I didn't like... Not what I didn't like, because I love the line where she says... He's like, what could I do next time? And she says... next time when there's a re-election, vote for somebody else. But that's sort of, and that was a great line, but that's sort of, to me, like undid her point, because it made it sound like you're not going to get a job while I'm here.
Yeah, no, I see
which,
what
like,
you're
maybe
saying.
she means after this
Well, not
conversation,
anymore.
you're definitely not, which that's fair.
I think, yeah.
That was so
Yeah.
weird, because he went from being, like, aggressive, he was, like, accusing her, and then he was being super personal, because then he goes on to say, like, oh, I didn't stop calling you because you're bad in bed. Because clearly that's the first thing she's thinking.
Yeah.
Like, it's just wildly inappropriate. And then he, like, it's like why is he asking, oh, what could I do next time? I'm like, well, I'm pretty sure that, like, you probably shouldn't bring up whether or not somebody's good or bad in bed and then ask for professional advice on how to get the job next time. Because I think you just answered your own question. Like, maybe just don't do any of
Right,
that.
just don't talk about it.
Just an example of things that you may not know how to handle well.
But let's fast forward then to the Oval Office later when they're going over things, and CJ says, depending on who was standing near me, there might be a story about me being good in bed. And Toby says, why? And she says, because I am.
Earth's giving it instructions. It's not responding. Like kids. All right.
So that leaves us with the televised classroom, the green beans, the stamp, and depending on who those people were that were standing near me, the possibility of a story about me being good in bed. Good in bed? Yes. Why? Because I am.
Not the time or the place. Like, I get...
It was so funny.
It was funny, but I was immediately uncomfortable because clearly Toby is asking you, like, it's important for them to know why there might be a story about their press secretary being good in bed. Like, that's fine if you want to clarify with Toby later. That's a you and Toby thing. But with everyone, I don't know. I didn't like that moment. I didn't like that.
Gilmore, what'd you think?
I thought the comic bit of it landed pretty nicely. There's a little bit of an undercurrent in this episode of, like, Toby, like, kind of making fun of her for taking really long to figure out the green bean thing and, like, her SAT scores. And so she's kind of, like, just laying it down. Like, she's good, you know? Across the board, apparently.
She won.
Yeah, she won.
That's fair.
She won.
I would have loved it if it had just been she and Toby. Like, if she had been telling Toby whatever.
Yeah.
It was the president's thing, which I still like the line. I like the dialogue. It just, like, okay. And that
You
the
felt
president,
uncomfortable, like, with the atmosphere
right?
they were in.
And that the president wouldn't comment. It seems like the time that Bartlett would be like, okay, this is stuff that they just all ignored it.
Well, that's true. Maybe that would be, yeah, you think you would maybe comment on that. Of course, it was the end of the day, and who knows what time it was. They're there till, like, all hours. Maybe he's just, like, tired. Next. Moving on. I don't know. Who
What's
knows?
next?
Yeah.
What's next?
Yeah.
I did say that I literally wrote this in my notes, that I would like working at the White House more, as though I enjoy it a certain amount now. I would like working at the White House more if I was able to wear those ball gowns that, like, Allison Janney got to wear.
Right?
She's like, I'll be in my office, and then she, like, swishes away in her, like, off-the-shoulder thing with the blue cape, and it was a nice look for her, I must say.
It was nice. Someone knows where that is at her house, because she says to what's her name? Who's her aide? I can't remember her name.
Carol?
Carol.
Carol.
Send someone to my house to pick up my blue Armani. Like, they're just gonna know where it is, and a pair of shoes.
Yeah.
Like, would they know the right ones to pick out? I guess so.
I guess
don't
so.
know.
I assume this is something that happens often enough that they're
It
like
seems
prepared.
like it.
Yeah. And later in the series, she does have that closet where she has some extra like pantsuits that Margaret helps her with, and she has to wear the big brooch to cover a coffee spill or something. So they do have like changes of clothes there.
They must. Why don't they just have their pajamas there? Because they're there all the time.
I know, just sleepover. That would be so fun.
Like bunk beds. It's like White House camp.
I know.
White House camp.
I really think they should. They should have. Be like college.
You would, exactly. Josh and Toby could room together. Sorry. Still there.
There's enough material for a movie. I mean, let's be honest. Can we start that rumor ourselves for a West Wing movie?
Yeah, definitely. I don't think that would mess with our credibility in any way. So we should do that.
What if we're just speaking things into existence and we're just like starting the avalanche right here?
Get the ball rolling. That's fair. There are a lot of good themes in this episode. Speeches but like, okay, two that stood out, the two big ones, or one when Sam was telling Mallory about why they're going to Mars, and he gives his little speech on like, we saw fire, we went over the hill, That was wonderful, and it just made me swell with emotion.
Poetic.
So
Super
poetic. And then CJ's speech at the very end, I guess, will redeem her from the I'm good in bed comment for me. That speech at the end where she's talking about, the student won't go to the blackboard, blah, blah, blah. That was great. That was so great. So there was a lot in this episode.
Sometimes it's about going to that blackboard and raising your hand.
Yeah.
Gosh.
And that even NASA gets it wrong, and I don't know. This was chock full of good lessons.
Yeah, it was very, but it wasn't too much, I don't think. I mean, it didn't feel like, it felt obviously optimistic and sentimental, but it didn't feel like cheesy in a not believable way.
No, not at all.
No.
And that's the beauty of The West Wing, is that, there are moments that we've pointed out, even we've pointed out moments that are like, that was a little much. But this one did a great job. And I think as a whole, the show does a great job of it.
Yeah, and I liked the part where she's talking with Charlie, first at the symphony, and he was the one like, hey, just so you know, I said the thing about the green beans, and like, she was kind of stressed about it in the moment, about like, okay, well, how did you say it, and is there any way we could spin it? And he was kind of like, CJ, he doesn't like green beans. This is not a big deal. Education's a big deal. Going to space is a big deal. And she said something like, didn't she say
everyone's stupid?
Everyone's stupid in an election year? Yeah, and he's like, no, everyone's just treated stupid or something. I just thought it was a really great point. And then obviously that's what stuck with her at the end of the episode when she, is in the Oval and she says, you know what? We're not going to try to fix the green bean issue. You just don't like them. You're not saying the people who make them are evil. You just don't, it's not your cup of tea.
Yeah. And the stamp guy, she's like, we should just put them on the stamp. They'll understand.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought it was a good point about like trusting the public.
You like beans or you don't,
Yeah.
It's not going to make or break American
No.
economy.
It's really not.
Do you like green beans, Annie?
I love
Do you have
green.
a confession
I love green beans. As a matter of fact,
Really?
Yes, you don't?
I love green beans.
No, actually, I do. They're one of the few vegetables I do enjoy.
I like green beans most anyway, but probably green bean casserole would be my favorite.
Okay, well, if we have a West Wing potluck, you can bring that. It doesn't really have a tie to the show, but you are welcome to bring your green bean. Well, I guess it does because of this episode.
Yeah, it definitely does because of this episode.
Bring
Yes.
Bartlett's beans.
No, not Bartlett's beans. That's what it would say. Not on its little card in front of the...
beans.
Yeah, not
Yes.
Bartlett beans.
Right.
True.
But I do agree with the point. American people aren't stupid. So, green beans, no green beans, whatevs.
Right. Yeah, because it'd be different if he was like, don't buy green beans, but he just doesn't like them. Like,
Right.
it's a non-issue.
Non-issue. But it was funny. I liked the thing with Toby. He's like, all right, call me in 3 hours. And it was like 2 hours and 20 minutes. And she's like, okay.
Which, yeah,
you're
very
right.
subtle moment. Right when she's about to walk into Toby's office and you can see her coming like through the glass. Alice and Janie, just in those like 2 seconds, did that perfectly. She's like, pulling herself together and like she's preparing herself for like, you know, she's about to get the I told you so, and she just has this very subtle body language that was awesome. She's just perfect. She does everything right.
I think she is my favorite character in The West Wing.
You would love her. I mean, yeah, I could see you just... You would be a great understudy for her.
Well, that's kind of
Gilmore.
you to say. I was a big Allison Janney fan before watching The West Wing, though, so it's like rooting for the home team, you know? Even though I don't know her at all, and we're not from the same town. But I liked her before, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So she's probably... I think that's why she's one of my favorites. But she's just so gosh darn good. She's just so good.
Yeah, timing. She's versatile.
Yeah, she's
got
so
great comedic
versatile.
timing.
She can be comedic, but she can be vulnerable. She's great. This is the Allison Janney podcast now.
Welcome. I'm glad you guys could join us. We're going to talk about Juno next. And then Drop Dead Gorgeous, because that was also a gem that gets looked over. Also loved Sam and Mallory when they're at the... There were so many moments with Sam and Mallory at the symphony when she first walks up, he like drinks his champagne and then he throws it like the champagne flute in the garbage, which I didn't realize that the first time, but I just thought that was so funny.
Hilarious.
It just caught me off guard and I couldn't stop laughing.
But he has the line about, they're talking about her new hockey boyfriend or whatever. It's hockey. Yeah, I think it was hockey. And she says something about you just want to get seats or whatever. And Sam has a great line where he says, I get pretty good seats as it is, Mallory. I don't know if you saw the motorcade I rode over in. That was a great line. If I was working for the president, I would definitely throw around stuff like that.
Oh, heck yes. That was awesome. But also, again, with people being inappropriate in a sexual sort of way. Like, first CJ with the guy that didn't get hired. He's like, it's not because you were good in bed. And then Mallory coming up, like, I realized that Sam hasn't called her in a while, and so she's trying to go in strong. Like, as a woman, I get that. You want to show up, like, looking good. You got another guy on your arm, whatever. But she's like, yeah, I'm with this hockey player, and we have quite a lot of sex. And he's like, well, you'd have to. And, like, kind of implying that he's dumb and they wouldn't have anything to talk about. But... I just thought that's bold.
I think right at the beginning you hit it on. She just like, she wants to rub his face. Like she's, you know, like the best revenge is moving on. Although it's not really if you have to tell them about it, but that's what she's going for, I think.
Right. But did they actually ever date more than like, yeah. So
it's
like,
another of Sorkin's like dropped storyline sort of, or like more is implied than we actually ever saw.
Right, because I didn't think they actually ever made it to a date. I didn't think.
Didn't they go to like the opera? They went to like the second half of the opera.
I think they did have one, and then everything else was like in a group. Yeah, I think they did, or they like went and got.
Yeah.
Oh,
they did
so
something,
they had
but
like
they
half a date.
Yeah, they didn't date enough to warrant all this.
I don't think so either. I mean, obviously they kind of like each other. That's pretty clear, but.
She obviously still likes him. That whole thing where she's like standing at the limo and CJ rolls up and she's still like looking starry-eyed at Sam.
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah.
Could you blame her? I mean, he's a great dude.
Don't blame her at all.
Good looking. Still looks like he's 25 years old and he's not.
Yeah.
But
those are some good genes.
That's true. And I love that CJ is talking to Toby. She's like, I have to go to the Kennedy Center and be with people who don't like me.
CJ?
I'm late.
Where are you going?
I have to go to the Kennedy Center and be with people who don't like me.
You can do that right here. Sorry.
We're late.
You're going too?
The president wants to discuss broader themes for the classroom.
I don't think there's going to be a classroom.
The president's holding out hope.
In the meantime, Mallory's going to be there with her boyfriend, and it's going to be weird because we haven't spoken to one another since the picture, which was wrong, I know, but I'm not even sure there was an implied obligation to do that. Please, let's remember, it's not like we were dating. We were flirtation. We had one date, and the rest are all with groups of people, and I don't know. I don't even know what dating is anymore.
Well, that's 20 seconds of my life I'm never going to get back.
Let's go.
Oh, man. I love it. So good.
One thing, I have a few small things. First being, and I've noticed this before in other episodes, and I write it down occasionally, but I always forget to bring it up. Are there pictures of Bartlett's other daughters on like the front side of his desk? Because the back of his desk just has a picture of Zoe and a picture of Abby, and a picture of he and Abby. And it's like, where's the rest of your family?
You know, it kind of felt like some of those TGIF shows where, like, they didn't have more kids, and then they decided to write more kids in, and then they decided to write some kids out. Like Denise on the Cosby Show.
Right.
It feels like one of those. They decided, like, hey, maybe he's got 3 daughters now.
Yeah. That's what I'm thinking, is we just haven't gotten to the, like, we haven't needed to have the other daughter. But, like, there was the shooting. Like, you know, he was in the hospital.
Yeah.
Seemed like a good time to mention him.
Yeah.
I don't know. So just one thing worth mentioning. Another thing is that one of the advisors that he calls in when they're talking about the Russian silo, the main advisor guy, he plays the guy most likely to be the Zodiac killer in the movie Zodiac with Jake Gyllenhaal and whatever, and he is uber creepy in that movie, and I have never been able to get over it in anything else I've seen him in.
Is it the kind of bald guy?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I wrote down, I was like, oh, it's that guy, and I don't know his name. Apologies. But he was also in Crazy Stupid Love.
Yes.
And that's the guy who says that, like, he can't hang out with Steve Carell anymore, and he buys him cologne from Macy's.
Yes. Which I couldn't handle him in that role either, because, and maybe it's, like, to his credit that he was so good and creepy in Zodiac that, like, I can't ever get that out of my head. But he was super creepy. Obviously, we don't know whether or not he was the Zodiac because, you know, whatever, but
we'll never know.
I can't talk about it.
I can't believe he broke up with Steve Carell and bought him cologne. Yep. Like, that was probably the saddest thing, even if he was a Zodiac killer. Anyway. Also, I did want to mention Nicole Robinson, who plays Margaret. And Annie, you might appreciate this as well.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, what are your thoughts on Margaret, Annie?
I love her flippy hair. You know, it is so 90s. It's like so, what is that, late 90s, early 2000s? It's so flippy. I think she's so talented. I love her interaction with the Russian, I almost called her the Russian spy, the Russian ambassador. I felt like in her head she was like, didn't want to leave the Russian lady alone in the office for fear she would like do something horrible. She's very protective. No, I really like Margaret. I think she's just such a fun character. What a treat it must have been to play her, I would think. I love the one she said, you could just shout out my name, which is Margaret. And she like took her time. It was so funny.
Yeah. I feel like Margaret's a part that you would play. Annie's an actress, by the way.
I dabble.
I feel like Margaret is a part that you would play.
Oh my gosh, I would love to play Margaret.
It's so
recast
funny.
It. No, yeah, and I love how I like the I don't know if juxtaposition is the right word, but like Leo's kind of on like the shorter side, and Margaret's like this tall, like lanky woman. And I don't know, it just works. It works for their...
Yeah, they're total opposites. It's like the Odd Couple.
Yes.
Yeah. Also, like, there's so many good scenes. I like the scene with Bartlett and Charlie in the limo, where Charlie's, like, trying to get Bartlett hyped up for this, like, evening of classical music that's not actually classical. Like, it's new classical music.
If you finished it this afternoon, it's not classical. That was so funny.
This episode is a good example, too, of... Like, Sorkin wants every guy in the room to be the smartest guy in the room. Every character, I should say. He wants everyone to be the smartest guy in the room. And I thought about that a lot this episode because we know that Bartlett is smart. But in this episode, and Charlie has the moment where he's rattling off, you know, symphonies. And it's like, are you really that smart about, like, that many different areas of things? Because he talks about the symphonies. We know Bartlett's smart. But then later, when Sam tells him... the explosion occurred while liquid hydrogen was being drained, which that's not that obvious. But, like, he knows science-y things too. Like, they're all brilliant in every area, and
are people really that smart and we're that far behind them?
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, is that a real?
I only know
thing?
song lyrics from the 90s.
Because people are experts in things. Like, Bartlett's an expert in economics. So, like, don't you think he would be less of an expert? We know he's less of an expert in the military, but, like, that's just because of lack of experience, not lack of knowledge. I don't know. I got real deep there, sorry, but...
Are people really that smart, and we're just really not that smart?
Are the real White House people really that smart?
Honestly, after watching that interview last night with the guy who ended up being a writer on the show and who did work for Al Gore, it's incredible.
So maybe they are. Maybe that answers the question.
I think they just must read a lot.
Yeah. But where do they even find the time to read all of that? Like, where do they find the time to be experts in all those things?
I do not know.
Yeah, it definitely takes time to be a Renaissance.
I'm not even an expert in anything.
I'm not an expert in anything.
I'm sure there is something to which you could offer expertise.
What's right under expert? Like novice or like average?
I think that's way below.
Yeah, novice would be beginning.
Novice would be beginning.
Aficionado?
Aficionado? Yeah.
I would say I'm an aficionado of things.
I would maybe say that.
I don't think I could be an expert person. I don't think I could be an expert.
All right, at least we're all in that together.
You know, it takes a while.
But there's something to shoot for. Galileo.
Yeah, you said it right that
time.
Thank you, Gilmore. Also, I made a note. We haven't heard or seen anything about Bartlett's MS in a while. In several episodes.
Well, we're about to.
It is remitting, relapsing.
Spoiler alert!
Just in case you guys thought they were going to drop that MS line, they do not. It comes back.
They don't drop it, but I'm just saying, we haven't seen it in a long time.
We haven't. I think that might be purposeful because they want to, I don't know, they wouldn't want to just, beat it over your head all season. It sort of is a gradual thing. I don't know.
Yeah. But, gosh, there's so many lines.
There's so many lines. That's all I have left in my note are lines. This line is a good Josh and Donna moment where Josh looks at Donna and says, "Let's put you on a stamp." And she says,
"Yes,
okay.
I said that too."
That was.
Yeah, that's the extent of my love life right there.
But that was a cute moment because he's sort of watching her become an expert in this stamp business. And he's just impressed by her effort in taking it on, and he's just listening to her rattle all these things off, and then he's the look on his face is you're kind of amazing. Let's put you on a stamp.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and she kind of reciprocated that.
That was cute.
Oh, yep. And I loved it. She's like, "Do you know what the acronym is for the Citizen Stamp Advisory Committee?" And Josh was like, "Dork Squad." For some reason, I just really liked the Dork Squad reference. Josh, I would be on your Dork Squad if you were our captain. Love, Andrea. Captain. Not very funny. Okay.
Trivia. President Clinton allowed them to use his actual box for the symphony scenes.
That's cool.
There you go. That's my one tidbit.
That was a good, good tidbit.
That's a good tidbit.
Thanks.
Because they did kind of pan up to it, and I noticed, the official seal on there.
Yes.
What else, guys? Is there anything else? I feel like that
is really
kind of recaps.
The only other note I have is that, and it's not even my note, but I can't remember where I read it. It was either on, somebody said it on Twitter, or maybe I read it on Reddit. But somebody just made the comment that, whenever they see the Rob Lowe, Comcast commercials, they can't believe that that's the same guy that gave the Galileo speech, which is funny, and I like that. So, sharing that. Credit to whoever actually said it.
I just have
that speech was so
question.
Yeah.
Okay, so when they show them in the mess, do they pay for that food, or is that a job perk? Just curiosity.
I think it's got to be a perk, right? We see one scene a couple episodes ago where Ainsley went and got an apple and a soda or whatever, and I didn't see her pay anything. Maybe it goes on a tab.
A tab, yeah.
They should not.
I think
have
it's
to pay
probably
for that.
free.
I mean, if Google's got free food, because all I know about Google I learned from watching that B movie with Owen Wilson and Vince Vaughn called The Internship. I mean, if Google has free food...
Whoa, did we give that a B?
Okay, a C.
Okay. I was
well, that's fun then. They can just go and eat and hang out and talk, White House stuff.
Just like at White House camp.
It's true.
When I first started
Cafeteria.
watching this, I really wanted to work at the White House. Although that's really undercutting the amount of stress they're under, because I don't want that. I just liked.
So you don't want to work there
No,
anymore?
not anymore. But when I
No.
first started, I really thought it could be fun. You know, it's like
When did you change your mind?
I think the more I started thinking about how long they have to be there every day, and it's like they don't get to sleep like hardly at all.
It's really your whole life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how you have any like outside life at all. Like, I mean, they have to have that mess hall because when do they grocery shop and how do they have time to pack their lunch?
They don't. So right.
No, they're ordering out, man.
Seriously.
They are.
Whew.
I just think, well, this one's going to be a hard one to pick an MVP for because originally, like at the very beginning of the episode, when Sam is rewriting on the fly, supposedly, this Galileo introduction, and it's kind of, I don't know, perfect, every word. I was like, okay, I'm picking, I just said Sam is so good. He's my pre-MVP.
He's so good.
But then CJ has all this great stuff going on. And then Bartlett has multiple monologues that are about kind of mundane things or just but he really makes it come to life. Like Martin Sheen just had so many dynamics, like the way that whole scene with the Russian ambassador, like I feel like that's Martin Sheen MVP. That's not necessarily a Bartlett one.
CJ's mine.
But who could we pick? Is she?
Yep.
Okay.
She
Good.
is, despite the good in bed comment. And that's not the comment. That is not the one that bugs me. It's the follow-up. It's the follow-up comment that bugs me. When Toby says why, and she says, because I am. Okay, but like also tell him why it's going to be in the papers. Like, important.
That's
anyway,
a good point. Yeah. That's
yeah.
a good point.
Anyway.
But she rarely gets to be a woman, you know? She rarely gets
and
to,
that's,
hold her own.
Yeah,
And, like,
no,
you know.
totally fine. And totally fine of her in the original context when she snaps at him about it, like, I am going to bet, like, hey, okay, you totally had me until she says, because I am. Anyway. But she won it on every other level for me. So CJ it is.
Gilmore, did you pick anybody? Who would you pick as an MVP for this episode?
I have to say, I think this show is CJ's. I think she steals it. I think it's her arc overall. Like, you know, they all have a little moment in the spotlight, but I think hers is the one that kind of comes to the forefront because I'm not going to remember all, you know, the exact quotes and stuff, but like she has that moment with the president at the end, and she's just sort of like he's taking her 2 cents, and so I think CJ for sure.
But then I have to give one MVP to just. Could somebody pick Sam so I can pick Martin Sheen?
I think you could pick Martin Sheen.
You can pick Martin Sheen.
But also, Charlie was a good tipping point. He doesn't win the episode by any means, but he served a purpose.
Oh,
they always kind
definitely.
of use Charlie as like an ace.
Charlie's
in the
got
hole,
some
you know?
episodes coming where he's MVP.
Okay.
There's one episode where
Well,
he
I
should
will
win
choose
like
Martin
100 MVPs in the same episode, so I'm going to award him a lot of MVPs at some point. So don't worry about Charlie.
Okay, fair enough. Gosh, I think I'm just gonna randomly drop in audio clips from this episode because there's just so many that I can't read them all. There's one about Sam and talking about Mallory sneaking up
the
on
high
him
heels. You'd think it'd make
the
more
high
noise.
heels thing. She's so still.
The whole scene where Toby gives Josh the assignment where Josh is smirking because Toby got the assignment, and then there's an exchange, and Josh says, that happened fast. That one's funny.
Yeah, that was good.
I love when CJ's on the phone with Toby, and she's like, oh my gosh, he's got me in his tractor beam. He's going to come talk to me. And she's like, don't hang up. And he's like, see ya. And just like totally leaves her hanging. Well, great. Well, I feel like that's a good recap of Galileo. Galileo.
Yeah, that was a good recap. It was a great episode. And the next one is also a great episode that I'm going to have to emotionally prepare for.
I'm going to have to emotionally prepare for it. I'm going to watch it right now. So I better be prepared because it's going down for real. Noelle.
Yep,
Noelle.
Noelle.
Gilmore, thank you so much for joining
Thank you
us.
so
I feel
much.
like
Thanks for having me.
I have so much joy in my heart that you are watching along with us, and we'd love to have you back sometime.
Well, thank you so much. It's been my pleasure. And thank you for helping me to find the West Wing.
It's the gift that keeps on giving.
Happy to point anyone in that direction.
It is. It is. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, guys, we'll see you. We'll see you in the next ep. And you know what we mean. We say see, but we mean talk. And we'd love to hear your feedback. TheWestWingPodcast@gmail.com, or hit us up on the new Facebook page, Wingin' It Pod. We're on everything except for Snapchat. We're not on that because that'd be weird. All right, talk to you later.
Bye.
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 I think Snapchat's for junior hires, right?